So when it comes to getting a mortgage when you're buying a property in a limited company, it's very different than a residential mortgage, right? If you're buying a property, let's say you're buying your family home, and you're getting a residential mortgage in your personal name, the lender is looking at you. They're looking into detail of you. Can you afford these payments? Because you're the one making the payments. Now, when you're in a limited company getting a buy-to-let mortgage, they're not as interested in you. Of course, if you've got CCJs and bankruptcy to your name, they're going to see that as a bit of a red flag, a bit of a warning sign. But as long as you've nothing major like that, it's not going to be a problem. And if the company's brand new, it doesn't make a difference. They're going to be looking at the actual buy-to-let investment, the investment property. Will the rental income pay the mortgage and more? Is the buffer room? And they're not just going to trust what you say, like, oh, I'm charging 10 grand a month. No, they're going to look at the market. They're going to do their own research, their own due diligence. But how old the company is will not make a difference.
There are a few inaccuracies with this video, but let's go through the details and I'll explain to you exactly how it works when it comes to buying a property through a limited company or just buying a buy-to-let property generally. They're going to have to look at your circumstance, they're going to have to look at your situation because there is no track record of that limited company. So the only way that they can assess you as a director, they're going to have to look at your income, they're going to have to look at your tax, they're going to have to look at your spending habits, and they're going to have to look at your deposit verification as well. The main reason for this is because if for any reason you have a vacant property, the only person paying that mortgage is you. And if you are fortunate enough to have a tenant from the outset, but at some point you're going to have a vacant property for whatever purpose or reason. And if you've built up a pot and you've used the money wisely, it should be fine to cover you for that vacant period. But if you don't have that success, which can happen, as soon as you buy a buy-to-let property, you might not have a tenant for the first 6 months. That's you paying that mortgage payment. So the bank has to look at you almost from a residential perspective because they have to ensure that you are in a position to be able to cover that payment should you not have a tenant that's doing it for you. There's also the credit score situation as well. So if there's, say, 2 directors that are on this limited company and one of those directors has a very, very bad credit score for whatever purpose or reason, you're not going to be able to go to a high street lender or a typical lender anyway. You're going to have to go to a lender that's going to take into consideration that credit score. The directors are the people that own the company owns the property. A bank is not just going to give you a mortgage without any assessment on you individually to make sure that you are in a position to be able to run this property in the correct way. They're trying to ensure your success, not hinder it. Some of the truths of this video, yes, they're absolutely going to look at the assessment of the property itself and make sure that the rental value is sufficient to be able to cover the mortgage. So you're going to have to be accurate and try and get as much information as you possibly can on the property itself to be able to support the mortgage that you're trying to acquire. Because in most cases, if the rent comes back lower, they will not give you the mortgage that you need. And in order for you to be able to bridge that gap, you're going to have to put in more cash to support the purchase. Make sure you speak to someone who'll be able to give you the ins and outs of the limited company. Speak to a competent mortgage broker. Make sure you do your research on the area as well. Don't just buy in a location because your friend told you that this. Do your own research. There is nothing that you cannot research online for free. You put enough effort into it, you'll get exactly what you want out of it.